I want to make a custom tow truck. I have this 1968 Dodge D200 by Matchbox, and this International Durostar flatbed, also by Matchbox, working rigs. What I want is a 4-door tow truck, something that I don't have, and I think it would look great as a 4-door tow truck for my junkyard diorama. So I went ahead and already drilled the mounting post. I'll take this one apart. I want to cut the bed off, and then I'll take this one apart and cut the cab off and see where we go from there. I don't plan on keeping these wheels. I am going to keep the interior and paint it. You can get rid of these wheels, and I'll probably get rid of this grill. I really don't care for how plain that looks. I think I have another one that will replace that with. Alright, I put some tape so I can get a nice clean straight line where I want to cut it, and also hopefully protect the body from accidentally scratching it. I ordered a jeweler's saw. I'll be using that soon. I don't have it yet, so I'll have to use my Dremel tool today. Alright, I made the cut. I'm going to take the tape off, and I'll probably need to take a file and clean this side up a little bit. We'll see after the tape comes off. Driver side looks fine. Passenger side just needs a little bit of filing. Alright, I got the cab all cleaned up. There's a little burr right there. And it's ready to go for the next step. I'm ready to trim the cab off of the International. Get started with that. Right, now that I got enough stuff out of the way, I'm just going to make a cut right there with the Dremel tool and get this cab released. Right, I have to take that off to get my Dremel tool enough room to get in there. Okay, the cab is free. The next thing I want to do is cut the bed off and cut these tabs off that used to support the front wheels. I got these clippers. I'll just use these clippers to get rid of these tabs. Okay, that's done. I'll just take the Dremel tool and chop that off. Just squirt it with the razor knife, and then I'll take a file and clean it up. Alright, that filed down nice and smooth. Let's see if we have any progress on how it might fit. Alright, making progress. I think I may need to chop this off a little bit more. I thought it might slide underneath the cab and support it. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should put the gas tanks in. I might need it to be that high. Let me put the gas tanks in and see how that's going to... Alright, I like how it's fitting. I put the gas tanks back in there, and it sits nicely on top, just like that, without cutting anything else off of the frame, but my wheels aren't lining up. I need it to come back just a little bit. If I can get this assembly to move back closer to these wheels, I think it's going to work out. I gotta see, I guess, gotta be a way to get this to go back a little bit further. I'll take this apart and do some trimming on the chrome part and see how it goes. Notch right here in the white part that lines up with this, and it's hitting that, so if I cut some of this out, it should slide back. And I might have to cut a little bit here around this hole, but there was some wiggle room there, so I'm just going to do this first and see how it goes. Alright, I gotta trim a little bit more out of this, around that hole, and it's gonna work. Alright, I changed the shape of the hole and gave it some more room there, so it should... Alright, I still had to trim that hole even bigger. Okay, now I got plenty of room. still not enough though. Come back just a little bit more. I'm gonna have to work on that. This part is still bumping into the interior when I put it together. There's a notch right there, it's hitting. I think if I cut some more off of this, it might go together and give me enough space for those wheels. It's just a little bit. I'm gonna go for that. I'm gonna cut off that much, that should do it. Okay, hopefully that gives me the space that I needed. It happened to be right where the mounting post was too. Oh yeah, that's a lot closer. I think that's it. I think that's gonna work. Yeah, that's gonna work. Okay, let me think over what I want to do next. Alright, I've been looking it over, and I want the body to slide down a little bit more. Just a little bit. And I'm going to have to cut this one more time so I have space, and then I'm going to have to sand a little bit off of these toolboxes on each side. It's got a little tiny notch that sticks out on each side. If I sand those little notches off and cut this area out, the body should slide down enough to close up this gap where the chassis is. Like when you put it together, there's a gap there. I'd like to eliminate that gap. If I can sink this down to about there, I'll be happy. So I'm going to do that next. I'll sand these sides down and cut that off one more time. Alright, I got the chassis trimmed. Put the toolboxes and gas tanks in there where it belongs. And I sanded down both sides of the toolboxes. I'm going to take this original cab piece, I cut it down, and I'm going to try to use that to hold the front wheels in place. To make that work, I got to remove this piece, sand that off, make it look smooth. I've pretty much got all these pieces to fit the way I want. I just need to take the Dremel tool and make the opening bigger in the fender, or either put some smaller wheels on the front. I'm not really sure. I like these wheels. I think I'm just going to have to sand some of this metal out of the way. Everything fits together nice except for that. Alright, since I really don't want to change the wheels, I'm just going to attempt to make the opening bigger with the Dremel tool. I'll spend a few minutes on this and then I'll show you how it looks when I'm done. Alright, after sanding out the wheel wells, making them a little bit bigger, it seems to fit and the wheels are spinning freely. I'll go ahead and place it one more time. Yeah. The wheels spin freely. Looks good like that. I think I can go ahead and start assembling it. I'm going to keep this grill, I think. I'm just going to paint it white. And I think I'm going to paint the roof white as well. So I'm going to do that next before I do the final assembly. Get this roof painted. And I can go ahead, and this was from the original casting, I can go ahead and glue this down in place, and then our front wheels will be permanent, and I can go ahead and glue this down in place, and that can be permanent. I'm going to do that next. Alright, I'm going to let that dry real good, and our front wheels should be permanent after that. Alright, I have the wheel wells sanded enough for the wheels to spin freely. The body fits on here. Next thing to do will be to paint the interior and work out the grill situation. I'm hoping that I could just cut this off and put it on there. Well, let's see how that goes. I also have this heavy duty bumper that I have in my parts bin. I'm hoping that I can incorporate that over the front. That's why I'm not too worried about changing the grill out totally, because it's going to be covered by this, hopefully. Get this chopped off and see how I can get it to fit. It looks thin enough. I'm just going to cut through it with the razor knife. Alright, let's see. It's not going to fit until I remove some of this black bumper, black frame area, probably. Okay. And this rounded area. I'm going to go ahead and remove that that first and then see what's left. Well, it appears that just cutting that little rounded piece off looks like it's going to be enough. I think that's it. I'm going to go ahead and probably sand this down a little bit on the back so it's not seating on here properly at the moment. So okay, I got that sanded down nice and smooth. They fit together like they should. So I'll glue those together, but I'm going to paint this grill area white first. Put paint where I expect the glue to stick. And this will take a few coats. I'm also going to paint the roof white. So I'm going to take some sandpaper, maybe just a wire brush, and degloss this roof real quick, and then I'm going to throw some white on that. Alright, I deglossed it some. I'm going to go ahead and do the white. Let that dry. Alright, now to do the interior. I'm going to do this bright blue color. Alright, let that dry. I painted the lights and turning lights in, and I put a little marker lights on the bumper. I'm going to go ahead and glue these two pieces together. Just going to let it sit like that until it's dry. Alright, that's how it's going to look on the front of the truck. Looks like a tow truck. Perfect. Alright, I got this car in a mystery box. I took the siren off of the roof, turned it into a parts car. I think it's going to look good on here. I'm going to use this siren to top off the truck. I'm going to put it on the roof of the truck right there. I'm going to paint the center of it chrome, and then I'll attach it. Okay, next I'm going to take some blue paint and paint this area that's white, blue, and maybe the area behind the wheels. If I can get in there, I'd like to paint that blue to match the body of the truck. I'll do that next. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better with the chassis being blue back here. And I painted the mud flap black. I gotta let it dry and probably put a second coat. I also put a coat of blue on the cab wall that will be visible when the rollback is open. Now I can go ahead and glue the siren on. I'm going to use some gel super glue. Just going to put it in place right where I want it. Alright, I'm just going to let that dry. I'm going to go ahead and do the final assembly. I usually weather my trucks, but I'm running out of time today, and I'm going to go ahead and ask all the people that watch the video to let me know if you think this should be weathered or left the way it is. Alright, you can see I painted the frame blue. It looks pretty good that way. Alright, here it is. The final assembly's done. Everything's put together. I'm going to go ahead and take it over to the junkyard diorama and get some pictures. I think it turned out really nice. I still could end up weathering it in the future, but I think the video is long enough today, So I'm going to go ahead and finish it now. Alright, now the yard has 3 wreckers. 2 Dodges and 1 Ford. I did this 1957 Dodge in the last wrecker video. If anyone's interested, you can go back and watch that one. Yeah, I really like how this turned out. I might have to make another one. Well, I guess this sums up our 1968 Dodge D200 Crew Cab Wrecker Custom Matchbox. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, you can also check out my eBay store. Thanks and have a great day.
Well, hello everybody. That was a fun ride, wasn't it?